how God works things out, especially having Miss Haley sing tonight. I love hearing Miss Haley sing, especially when she sings one of my favorite songs. And the song, just like David said this morning, the song they sung along with his message, and then her song is going to go right along with my message. But I got a couple of things to say first before we get started. But I want to apologize because I don't have a jacket on. The jacket I got in the house, they're kind of wintertime jacket, and I just didn't feel right. So most of y'all know my brother-in-law, Mitchell Crow. He said, come by here and get a jacket. Well, I put that thing on. He said, I'm your same size as you. Well, it is. I put that thing on and it wrapped around like this and hung down there. I look like some kind of gremlin on the McDonald's, you know. But just want to apologize for that. But like I said, if you want to, go ahead and turn to the book of Acts, chapter 12. And I got one other thing I wanted to say. I heard something a while ago from Aunt Hazel. She come in. She looked at me and shamed stuff, and she said, oh, don't worry about it, you're going to do fine tonight and stuff. She said, well, if it was me up there, she said, one thing about it, you'll get the truth and the gospel. So, the good thing is I don't know about the gospel, but you're going to get the truth from me anyway. So, like I said, if you would, turn with me to the book of Acts. Let's all stand, and I'm going to read from 5 down to about, I don't want to play like Brent, 9, 10, 11. We're going to go down to 9. Peter, therefore, was kept in prison. By prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God from him. And when Herod would have brought him forth the same night, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with 2 chains. The keeper before the door kept the prison. And behold, the angel of the Lord come up on him, and a light shine in the prison, and he smote Peter on the side, and arised him up, saying, arise up quickly. And his chains fell off his hands. And the angel said unto him, gird thyself, and bind on your sandals. And so he did, and said to him, cast the garments about thee, and follow me. I'm going to stop at 8:9. But anyway, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you this day. Lord, we just thank you for all your many blessings. Lord, I just pray that you just give me the words you want me to say tonight, Lord. Lord, that I'll just get out of the way tonight, Lord, that you just speak through me. Lord, if there's someone here tonight that's the message I'm preaching that's hurt in some way, somehow, Lord, that they will turn their life around to you. We'll just thank you and give you praise and all these things. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. You may be seated. Let me get over here to some of my notes and stuff. I want to make sure I'm on the right message. I hate to be preaching some kind of other message and I'm not in where I'm supposed to be. But they was talking here about Peter was in prison. You think about prison and stuff like that. You have a lot of people that's out there in prison and stuff. Shane tells me a lot about stuff, people in jail. But I don't know if I could actually, if I was in prison, if I could sit there and sleep all the time myself. Knowing that there's somebody there. You would always want to watch your back. But, in this case right here, Peter he didn't have that issue. Peter was just, was there and he knew that there was people of the church that was praying for him. That was people, not just one person. It wasn't just one person, Shane, praying for him. It wasn't Bruce just praying for him. It was the church praying for him. And that's a lot of times we look at things that we do out here is we don't get together, we don't pray together. We pray at home sometimes. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes people get up, I've heard people say, well, I don't know what the deal is about praying and stuff. I pray once a day, I pray this and that. I can't go a day without having to pray, continuously. I go down the road praying, because if you go down the road praying, you never know what's going to happen. But here Peter was, he was asleep between 2 soldiers in chains. And he didn't have a problem sleeping at all because he knew, God had him. But how could you sleep knowing that you might be a possibility of facing execution the next day? Could you do it? I don't think I could. I know I could. Sleep that way, knowing that I'm going to be the next day, my day's Shame that I'm going to die. You know, I'm going to die the next day. How could you sleep? There ain't no way you could sleep. But here Peter did. Peter didn't have a problem sleeping with him. Peter was sleeping. He was just, didn't have a problem at all. Knowing he said there were chains. I mean, you just think about laying there and you got the chains on you and stuff. Like, how can that happen? But Peter did. Peter slept good. What gave Peter the confidence and peace is he knew he had the church was praying for him. He knew what God has promised him already. You know, that's something that I think about a lot myself. I know David was on the P's this morning, and David, I'm on the P's too, as far as first I was praying, and then the second one is peace. So we're up to 2 P's there, brother. We might have another P in here, but anyway. It's amazing that the praying, how people just go without praying every day. I'll tell you what, I don't know, I get off my notes and stuff a lot of times just think about this. You hear people, when something happens and goes wrong, here they are, they coming out, I gotta move that thing. Here they are, they come out and stuff the issue. Every time something goes wrong, they get out of church and stuff, the first thing that happens, first thing they do, they come to church. They come up and say, brother, I need some prayer, I need prayer. Well, brother, if you've been praying at the very beginning, the things that you're going through, you wouldn't have the issue with it anyway. You wouldn't have the problems. You'd have peace. You just, I mean, I get thinking about that sometimes. They come in and I hear men talking about it. They say doom and gloom and stuff. They don't know what's wrong. What's wrong? And they're out. They're not in prayer. They're not in prayer. They're not in church. And it tells us right there for us to be in church. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read you a little bit of a verse right here. It's same chapter 12, verse 12. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says right here, it says, where many were gathered together in prayer. Here we are. There's many of us here together in prayer. But they get out there, they get out in the world, and they let things go, and then the next thing you come in, and God takes, God takes the pressure off. They kind of get some relief a little bit about something that's going on. And then they're like, oh, well, we can miss a Sunday. We can miss a Wednesday night. We can miss a Sunday night. And next thing you know, one thing leads to another. And then you're down here on the lake, floating around in a boat. Me and Larry was talking about that today. I thank God, you know, me and Melinda had a boat. But we knew we had to sell the boat, of course, to get our daughter a car. But we knew if we didn't sell that boat, we'd be at the lake instead of the church. And that's what a lot of people do. They do that. They will just kind of float off. They leave church alone. They won't think about it. They won't go on and stuff. And it's like, man, you've got to be in church. You got to be in prayer. You got to be in fellowship. And to have all that prayer and fellowship, you got to be at church. And if you do that, you're going to have peace. You will have peace. My mouth gets dry. I get cotton mouth here in a minute. But anyway, I mean, it tells us right there plain as day. And it says right here, it said, when Herod was and brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers in chains, kept him and the chains. And when the keeper of the door was keeping him, it says, and behold, the angel of the Lord come up on him, and a light shined in him and smote Peter on the side to wake him up. I don't think God walked in that day or that night with a stick or whatever and just lightly tapped him on the side, Bruce. Because most time, I don't know, most sleepers around here, I don't know, like me, I mean, I can hear a fly by a night radar and stuff, and I'm awake. Well, God struck him on the side, hit him hard to wake him up. Wake up. Wake up. I don't need it. I get to drinking that. I have to go to the bathroom. Thank you. But it's I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, he had to hit him hard, had to hit him really hard. And he told him to raise up quickly. You know, you think about it, if it was like that, God woke us up to rise up. And you in a dead asleep, tells you to put on your shoes. It's usually the smoke alarm going off in the house. You panic. If smoke alarm's going off, you don't know what you're doing. You kind of off on the left side and you're struggling here and that. But this wasn't here. When God told Peter to wake up, Peter got up. Told him to put his shoes on. Put his sandals on. with his garment on and follow me. And I believe that's what it was. Peter knew where he was at. Peter had such confidence there because he already knew what God has told him, what he's told him, promise, you know. And promise was that God promised him that he would never die. He would be an old man before he died. A lot of us can't, we're not that promised. We're not promised to leave out of here tonight. He was such asleep, the angel had to strike him on the side to wake him up. Now, I kind of think about that sometimes. I usually wake up pretty easy, but I usually have to wake Melinda up pretty hard. She's kind of tough sometimes, but she usually gets up fairly easy. But that's what God's trying to do to some of us, is to wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Do what you're supposed to do. Be in prayer. Be at church. Be outside the church. It ain't always just about inside the church. Prayer goes on everywhere else. Prayer goes on at your workplace. Prayer goes on at your grocery store. Here's a good one. Prayer goes on at Bells for y'all women shop, which you can't say much. Most men shop at Bells too. Prayer goes on everywhere. You got to stay with it. You got to stay on it. If you don't, you kind of start slipping away. You start slipping away little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit. I don't have to pray today. I can kind of let it go. I don't have to. But you get the ones that this. It says there that they prayed day and night for a week. How many of y'all went in here and went through something during the last year or so? See, I raise a hand. Some kind of trial that you went through. What got you through it? Prayer. Because you wouldn't have been able to if you wouldn't have. I went through an issue here not too long ago, a few years ago with my dad. There was people like y'all that was praying for me. I know these were praying for me. But that gave me the peace that I needed to go through that prayer. I got a little story I want to kind of share with you for a minute. And I guess it's something that can lead back to prayer. Me and Melinda went down to the cemetery lots here. My dad gave me back when he passed away down in Cartersville. So we went down Friday to make sure where the lots was at. Now this kind of show you how what type of people's out there. And went around where my dad was buried at and stuff, and the fellow was over here on the ground. He called it the Bible, where everybody was buried at and stuff, and I was looking over at it. I looked over here, my dad was like in front of me. And I looked over to the side, and I'm like, man, that's fresh dirt right there. Well, I stepped away and looked. And when my dad, most of y'all know, when my dad got sick, I brought my dad home with me. And he stayed there at the house the last 9 months of his life. We took care of him. And he had a sister. We called her Aunt JoJo. Now she was really close to me. We didn't talk a whole lot. Matter of fact, it's been several months since I talked to her. But just to show you what type of people is out there in this world, I looked over there, and my Aunt JoJo passed away in November of last year. And didn't get a phone call. Oh, I got mad. Man, I was mad. Told Melinda, I said, I want to call a preacher and talk to him about that. I said, because I want to pick up the phone and just blast these people. Melinda said, well, I don't know if that's the right thing. Well, the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, the devil wants to, oh yeah, just blast them, just give it to them. But I'm thinking on the other side, the Lord says, no, that just gives you something more to pray for. More people to pray. And I told Shane that this morning, talking to him. I said, that's kind of leading me through this whole time of the prayer. It's never stop ceasing. Never stop praying. There's always somebody, somewhere to pray for. If they ain't nobody to pray for, pray for me. I need your prayer. Peter was in prison with the guards. Had 4 guards there guarding. Peter didn't have an issue with have a problem with that because of prayer. Peter knew what the Lord's promised him. Peter's been in prison 2 other times. And this time was different though. When he was in prison this time and stuff, there wasn't nobody there, but the time before he was able to witness to people. So that goes to tell you right there, you ain't always going to be somewhere where you can witness. But 99% of the time you're going to be somewhere you can witness. Gas pumps, gas stations, grocery stores, you can always witness. And it ain't always about just getting straight into the Bible. Something simple. You know, how's your day going? You know, you go to church anywhere? Usually if you ask somebody where they go to church, usually kind of opens the door right off the bat. But Peter at this time, like I said, he had peace where he was at. I feel like I'm chasing rabbits up here. Peter was just like, he had peace where he was at. He knew there was many people out there praying for him. But you know, Peter also was asleep in the Garden of Gethsemane. Could you imagine being asleep there? Could you imagine that? I mean, here he was asleep there. But he lay that night, had the chains. And this is what I feel like God did for me. When he come on the scene, when actually I started believing where God actually, I understood. I had him here, but I didn't have him here. 2011, March 23rd. Lord took him chains off of me. He took him chains off of me. And after that, it's been wide open. He wants me to go out there where I teach in Sunday school, telling God, telling people about Jesus, what he's done for me. There's always something to do. Answer the call and the preach. I mean, what else could you say? What else could you say? But when them chains were removed off of me, my life was different. My life was different. I prayed God to turn me loose. And I just sat around and I look at my notes and stuff, and it's just like, man, what's these notes all about? And when you write them down and you look back in the message. But he turned me loose when he took them chains off. So you get people out here that comes in. He says, Steve, you get out there and spread the gospel. You preach the gospel. It don't matter where I'm going to go. I'm going to mention something about Jesus LC. It didn't matter that. Yesterday I mowed the grass out here, and I tell you what, I preached to every one of them trees out there. And I did a good job, too. Because every time I'd go by, I seen the leaves a waving and the arms a waving, so evidently they must have liked what I was preaching. But it was, the thing about it was, is you can go out in this world and you can preach no matter where you go. No matter what it is. God will give you the words you need to say. But I'm so thankful, though, that God took them chains off of me. How many is in here tonight might have these chains on them? I started to do a thing tonight. I was going to actually have Shane put me in handcuffs. But I got to thinking I might not want to do that. And I might try to take advantage of that and beat the car out of it. But you know, when you got the cuffs on you, you're bound down. You can't do that. If you got chains in there, I mean, I'm sure if your hands is tied behind your back, you really can't do nothing. But you think if you had the chains tied right here, I mean, yeah, you can pick up your Bible. You can do this. But there's a lot of things you can't do. Think about putting your shirt on with your hands tied together. Something will have to cut somewhere. Well, like I said, you know, God come on the scene, made a difference. But there's one thing right here. It says, prayer is always reminds our promise of God's word. David, there's that third P. There's your promise. You know, he's promised us such things. This is amazing. This book is full of promises. If you don't know what they are, all you got to do is open it up. There's a promise just about on every verse. If you look at stuff, just look it up. There's something in every chapter. There's a promise that he's going to do, or he will do, or he ain't going to do. But you just got to get into it. I thought about something today with our doctors that we go to and we get a prescription. The doctor gives you a prescription for some type of sickness that you need. And I was going to actually ask Ted tonight, but Ted's not here tonight.
I'm in.
Oh, there he is. What are you doing sitting in the back? I wasn't going to spit on him. But anyway, and I was going to actually ask him kind of what, for his prescription, how many prescriptions does he write out a day for people that's sick? And I just kind of took in my head, I just thought about my doctor and stuff, and I figured if he's just about every visit he writes out, some of that visit, the doctor would write out one prescription. And I know there's some sicknesses out there. I know sometimes you got to have medication for your high blood pressure, your low blood pressure, your runny nose. You got to have certain little things that I know. But how many times people will take the prescription, if they would just leave the prescription alone and actually just do what God tells them to do right here, they wouldn't have to have that prescription by obeying God's word. He tells us to read it. He tells us to study it. Why don't we do it? Why not? Is it because we got the chains on? Is it because we can't make that commitment? Is it because we ain't got that peace to read our Bible? It's right there. It's all we need. Well, God has just, open. I tell you what, I get so much in my mind and rolling stuff that God tells me just kind of amazes me. But right here I was going to tell you, because of Peter was knowledge that he knew that Herod could not kill him, that Jesus had made him a promise that he would live to be an old man. And that tells us in that in John 21, 18, 19. But he promised him that. God's promised us this. So if you're here tonight and your chains is on, I know a man that's got the key to it. I know a man that can remove it. It might be something that you just never thought about, that you've got just dangling around, chaining around with you. But it could be tonight. Remove them chains. Let God come in your life. And get out there and tell the world what God's going to do. Because He's coming back soon. I think God is probably, I hear Brent say it sometimes, a fingernail, just hanging by a fingernail. And what we've been teaching, or what Brent's been teaching on Monday night, and what we've been learning, it's real close. I don't know if you can say real close. I think it's real close. But just open your hearts up. If you're out here and you hurt, don't come to church and then go home and then get back out there in the world of things. Stay in there. Hang to it. No matter what. Having family problems? Hang in there. Having friend problems? Hang in there. Because people need it. But like I said, you see people come in and they get out and they get to hurt. Something goes wrong. The first thing you know, they're back at church. You give them a couple of weeks and they're gone again. You wait till that something happens again and they're back. So always remember prayer. Prayer, prayer, prayer. If you'll pray, God's going to give you peace. If you'll pray, God's going to give you a peace and God's going to give you a promise, tell you a promise. If you're going to stay in this Bible, you'll get you promises, you'll get confidence to where you can get out and tell people. Some people say, well, I can't speak in front of people. Just open this up a little bit, and you'll be able to. So you might be here tonight and the chains is just dangling a little bit and you still haven't had that peace with nobody. You might be here tonight and you don't even know the Lord. If you don't know the Lord, it don't matter if you got chains on or not. One thing I see that really irritates me is you see people on Facebook. Please pray for so-and-so. They're sick. Please pray for me. My thing is, why don't you get off of Facebook and get in church and ask for prayer? Get to church. If you have God in your life and stuff, you don't have to ask nobody for prayer. He's there. You got the one that you need to talk to right there. But But that just irritates me. But if you're here tonight, like you said, you might not even know the Lord. Tonight's the night. You can leave everything you got right here on the altar. Now I know it was going to be kind of short and sweet. I don't know about sweet, but I knew short. Which I think I got started a little earlier than 6:30. So anyways, you'll be able to make it out to eat tonight on time. But if you don't know the Lord tonight, tonight's the night. Someone will meet you down here in the altar. But if you're tonight, you just got something on your heart that's just bothering you. You got chains that's just dangling out there. And you want to commit to God that you're going to start praying more. Because I know we all need to pray more. I need to pray more. We need to pray more as a family. We need to pray more as a church family. I mean, just look around at the people we got here right now. And you imagine what it would be like if we all got together for a week and we all prayed for something. Could you imagine what would happen in a week? Imagine what it would be if you were praying for salvation. What that would be, how many people would be here. And I know we got something coming up in August about bringing a lost person. We got time to start picking out people now. But my problem is that I don't want to wait till August to get them here because they might not make it till August. I want to get them on here now, so that gives me no reason to go somewhere else. I guess, Gina, if you won't come and